This is the Happy Rant Sports Podcast, in which Ted Cluck and Barnabas Piper rant about old sports, new sports, sports books, sports movies, and anything else related to sports that they feel like. Enjoy.
Hey, welcome to the Happy Rant Sports Podcast. I am Ted Cluck, joined as always in studio by my good friend and partner in sports radio, Barnabas Piper. And Pipe, we have a lot to discuss today after the conference championships in the NFL and all of the controversy therein. But I want to talk about a non-controversial thing, and that is Lagares Roasters Coffee. So after many days and hours of just kind of high-level boardroom stuff here at Happy Rant Corporate and at Lagares Corporate, we have settled on a special promotion. This is a special promotion for Union University students, in which when they sign out, students, faculty, and staff enter Union 15 at checkout, and you will receive 15% off your next purchase of Lagares Roasters Coffee. The best coffee you will ever taste.
Is this like an honor system thing? So since we have listeners who are not Union people, are we asking them not to use this? Or is this like just a big thumbs up to Union either way? That's
the thing. That's the magic of it, Piper, is that we're not going to know necessarily if somebody is or isn't a Union student. And here's the headspace that I'm in, is that for this promotion, for the life of this promotion, everybody's a Union student. So consider yourself an honorary Union journalism student in my program. I would like you to be more than honorary. I'll just put that out there. Men, women, children, even if you're not of college age, come to Union, study with me in the journalism program, and drink lots of... He promises
to only give A's and A minuses.
Well, of course. I mean, that's just college standard nowadays. So I would never give anything but an A or an A minus. You're all fabulous. Everybody does equally fabulous work. So yeah, Lagares Roasters Coffee, lagaresroasters.com, 15% off, Union 15 at checkouts, and enjoy the best coffee you have ever tasted. But can I give just a personal testimonial to Lagares Roasters? Dude, please.
Awesomeness? So,
yes, that would be great.
Two things.
Yeah.
First of all, I got a tweet sent at me from a listener who is married to somebody we regularly poke fun at on this, whose name may or may not sound a lot like Jared C. Wilson.
Whose name may or may not start with an @ symbol.
That's right, yes, an @
his Christian
Jared C.
name.
Wilson. So yeah. Jared's wife tweeted at me and said that she was brewing her first ever pot of Lagares Roasters Coffee. She hadn't tried it, so she said she expected it to be life-changing based on our promos, and and she was going to hold me personally responsible if it was not. I was not the least bit nervous. I had complete faith in the work that Hector does. And so, I tweeted back at her like 10 minutes later, and I was like, okay, so how did it go? And she basically said, this tastes just like the coffee that Jared used to bring back from Costa Rica when he would go there and do mission stuff, and he would bring back fresh from the coffee plantation coffee.
Dude, right off the plantation.
That's one testimonial. Here's my other one, is that I'm drinking Lagares Roasters Coffee right now, but it is not the Happy Rant blend. It's one of the other podcast blends they have, and I won't say which one.
Okay.
The Happy Rant blend is better. This is excellent coffee I'm drinking. I'm thoroughly satisfied. However, the Happy Rant blend is better than this. So
yeah.
I'm just gonna. So we've got fantastic coffee, and then we've got our blend being better than fantastic coffee.
That's really the wheelhouse we want to be in. I mean, it's one thing. I mean, when my head hits the pillow at night, Piper, I fall asleep reflecting on the fact that I'm a coffee mogul. But you know what? Call me greedy. I want my coffee to be yet better than everyone else's coffee. It's not enough just to be in this business. We need to be the best in the business.
Yeah, why even play the game if you're not striving to be the best?
Dude, that's right. Which is why in 2 to 3 years, we are going to put Starbucks out of business. So Starbucks, if you're listening, we're coming for you. Okay. Hector, Piper, myself, we are coming for you. So there it is.
Hector Lagares, the new Howard Schultz. And honestly, isn't that the way things ought to go?
It really is. Dude, he would handle things so much better. I mean, you got to meet Hector Lagares, Pipe. He's in addition to being like the world's preeminent coffee roaster, he's probably the nicest guy I've ever met. Everyone everywhere loves Hector Lagares. I mean, in this town, you can't go anywhere without somebody like singing the praises of one Heck Lagares. So
well, he's like a man of many businesses too. Isn't he a
Yeah.
realtor as well? Like he does coffee. He's a realtor. I mean, the man is just sort of a serially successful doer of things.
He is. He wears many hats, and I for one am proud to know Heck Lagares. So Heck is destined to be a celebrity, Pipe. And my first topic today, I want to talk about celebrities, and I want to talk specifically about one celebrity response to some of the bad officiating that took place this last weekend in the
Wait, there was bad officiating? I didn't hear about this.
That's the rumor. I know it. It's just one of those things that's kind of flown under the radar. Like
I'm color me skeptical. I'm not
exactly.
I don't think that happens at the NFL level.
Well, here's what happens. I mean, you're so wrapped up in just enjoying the game for the game itself that you barely recognize that the referees are a part of it. But from time to time, they do make themselves the show. The referees will make themselves the storyline, and that is, in fact, exactly what happens this past weekend of football, Piper. And most egregiously in New Orleans, where the Saints were about to make their date with destiny. Drew Brees, at age 74, was ready to go back to win another Super Bowl, and lo and behold, there was an egregious no call on a pass interference that I think anyone who's ever watched a down of football would agree that was pass interference. But that's not what primarily I'm here to talk about this morning. So a fun thing is happening in my age bracket, Piper, in which like during sports things, I'll banter with like my college buddies, but apparently like occasionally the sons of my college buddies will weigh in on like a group chat. So like my teenage son, my friend Corey's teenage son, and being that they're high school boys, they're trying to like out clever each other. So the text banter can get really good.
I'm cringing already.
Exactly. But anyway, one of the things that my buddy Corey's son Jack sent along was a letter, a very earnest letter from one Harry Connick Jr.
I love Harry Connick Jr.
I do too, man.
He was the first jazz musician I ever really loved. Like his album 11. So I go back. I go way back with.
I go way back with that album too. Absolutely. And incidentally, Piper, nobody wears a T-shirt like Harry Connick Jr. Have you noticed this? Like he's one of the few men who can be photographed in like jeans and a T-shirt, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's really pulling that off. And his look has sort of remained consistent through the decades because Connick has been around. He's been around since the 90s. And he released his first album at the age of 11. So yeah, he's acted, he has written, he's performed, he's just sort of he's like the jack of all trades, master of all. He's an all-purpose celebrity, especially in the New Orleans area, and apparently he wields a lot of influence in the commissioner's office at the NFL level.
In his own mind.
In his own mind. So Piper, one of my favorite things is like ridiculous celebrities weighing in on ridiculous things as though they have influence. And I just think what happens when you're Harry Connick Jr. or any celebrity of a certain magnitude, you just get the sense that like the world is waiting to hear my response to whether or not that was pass interference. And
so basically what you're saying is that like celebrities are to pop culture what the Gospel Coalition is to church. Everybody's just waiting to hear their response.
Yes, that is the perfect one-to-one analogy. That's so good. So Connick, this is what I love. After the NFC Championship game last weekend, he had a moment where he sat down, no doubt in his like richly appointed New Orleans loft, looking out over Bourbon Street, just beautifully appointed place. He sits down, hunched over his phone, and bangs out a letter on Twitter to Roger Goodell. And I want to read it to you. I want to read you this letter on the air, and I want to get your input on what he said, but also just this whole like celebrity influence thing in general. So here we go. Dear Commissioner Goodell, please know that I would have written this letter regardless of which teams were playing in the NFC Championship. So Connick was ready. He was ready with a letter to Roger Goodell either way. I don't know if they're pen pals, if they correspond. I don't know what the relationship is there, but here we go. I love the game of football so much. The NFL gives me such great joy and has for many years. To not call the pass interference / helmet-to-helmet penalties at the end of the game was one of the most disgraceful no calls I have ever seen. The officiating this year has been, for the most part, mediocre in my opinion. But for a game as important as the NFC Championship, it sickens to know that the people who are assigned to fairly officiate the game seemingly had no regard for not only a dangerous penalty, but one that could have certainly changed the outcome of the game. Until changes are made, specifically booth review of outcome-altering no calls, you can count me out. I'm not watching the AFC Championship game, and I won't be watching the Super Bowl. Thank you for the time to read my letter. Sincerely, Harry Connick Jr. Well, that's the shot heard around the world, Piper. I mean, when Harry Connick Jr., star of the Memphis Belle and Hope Floats, reaches out to the commissioner's office, the commissioner, no doubt, is listening. I wonder what the response was, Pipe.
I suspect Roger Goodell couldn't hear it through all the dollar bills stuffed in his ears. So
exactly.
I'm sure he was. I'm sure it didn't faze him at all.
He's like, wait, I'm watching Hope Floats on Epics. I have to turn it down.
Sorry, I was blowing my nose into a wad of hundreds.
Exactly.
I couldn't hear you.
Exactly.
Well, see so first of all, I would just like to say thank you to the genre of the open letter. Where would we be as a society without the open letter?
Absolutely.
We have all gained so much from the passive aggressive, gossipy, dragging other people's business into the public eye genre of the open letter. So first of all, big thank you to that. I feel kind of just better for it.
Absolutely.
Second of all, this gives me pause because it makes me question the character of one of my favorite all-time musicians.
Yeah,
because
he clearly like thinks a lot of himself.
Well, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the blatant lie in like sentence number 2.
Oh, what was it? What did he say?
The one where he says, "I would have sent this letter regardless of who was playing."
Yeah, no, that's not true
false.
At all. Yeah,
that's 100% false.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel confident in saying this. If I was a betting man, I would put a lot of money on that's not true.
Yeah, I think Bovada actually has a line on that. So you could put money on it. But it's not like he had this letter like in his desk drawer ready to go, regardless of if the Rams won or the Saints won. That's not a true statement.
Yeah, so that bothers me significantly because I would like to respect this man. The other thing that bothers me is that it's just very whiny.
Yeah.
Like when I read that, I was just like, boo-hoo. Take to Twitter during the game, gripe and moan. Like literally everybody on Twitter was this just outraged by that lack.
Find the right meme for it. Whatever. Yeah. God bless you.
As a Vikings fan who was summarily screwed out of a Super Bowl appearance by the cheating Saints, I took to Twitter on the opposite side, essentially to passive aggressively gloat. Yeah. But because I'm not going to forget that, Saints fans, and I would just like to say that karma is a witch. And she's coming for you. Oh, no, wait, she came for you last weekend.
That's right.
But yeah, everybody was mad about it. So this letter saying this was just so whiny. Like, just spew it out on social media where the medium lasts 18 seconds and then you move on. That's how you do things in sports.
That's how you deal with stuff in today's environment, for sure.
Yeah, especially things that are not, people deal with politics that way. People deal with human lives that way. Certainly we can deal with sports that way.
Absolutely.
I think the thing that was the funniest to me though was the thing that I think Harry thought it was a threat to say, I will not be watching a game until this is rectified.
Yeah.
Who's gonna know? This is like announcing your social media sabbatical.
Exactly.
Like nobody's gonna miss you.
Yeah,
Harry. Nobody knows what you're watching on your TV.
Dude,
Not only that, I don't think anybody cares.
What do you think Harry Connick is gonna watch in place of the Super Bowl? Like that whole Sunday afternoon when he knows like everybody in New Orleans is throwing an awesome party and he's now morally chained to this like idea that he's not going to be watching the Super Bowl. What do you think? What do you think Harry Connick Jr. plays on his television when he's not watching, the NFL?
I bet he watches the show The Property Brothers from HGTV because they look exactly like him.
Dude, they do. They're like knockoff, not quite as awesome Harry Connick Jr.'s. You're so right about that.
I was at the gym and that was on because I go to the YMCA, which is most of the people who exercise there are like 40 to 70-year-old women, I think.
Dude, that's good.
At least in the hours that I go.
Yeah.
So HGTV is prominently featured on the televisions, which is funny at a gym. But I was
really
on
funny.
and I was like, oh, Harry Connick Jr. has a TV show. Wait, there's two of him.
Yeah,
What's going on here? And then I realized it's not him. It's two guys who wish they could be him.
Dude, he should get a royalty every time those guys are on TV. Seriously. Because they just copied his aesthetic.
Would they be super famous if they looked, I don't know, like Benedict Cumberbatch or something? Like they just instead they look like Harry Connick Jr. so they can pull it off.
Yeah.
But yes, that's my prediction on what he would watch instead is just reruns of the Property Brothers buying and selling.
Dude, there you go. Yeah, I don't know, man. What if he slips up and accidentally stumbles into a couple of minutes of the Super Bowl? I feel like it's going to be a real temptation for him.
Here's his out clause.
Mm-hmm.
He can watch the Super Bowl and say, I'm just here for the commercials.
There you go.
I'm just here for the commercials, guys. And the halftime show. Who's playing it this year?
I don't know.
It's some generic bunch of white dudes who sing bad pop, I think. Oh,
yeah,
it's Maroon 5.
Or
Adam Levine or something
Dude, there
like
you go.
that.
Yeah, nothing dangerous, nothing potentially scandalous.
No. There hasn't been anything scandalous at the Super Bowl in like 20 years, and they're still scared of it. Like the Janet Jackson thing has just forever terrified them.
Yeah. Dude, Piper, should I be ashamed of the fact that I like Maroon 5 a little bit? Like, is that an embarrassment?
There are very few bands that people should be ashamed of liking. I don't think that's one of them. They're just boring to me. But
dude, they are boring. No, they're definitely boring.
I feel that about most pop music, but there's a reason it's pop music, and it's because it's super catchy and it people like to enjoy catchy things. It's like ear candy.
Dude, so the band that played halftime at the national championship was Imagine Dragons. I feel like they're really boring.
Yes.
I was just like, this is just a bunch of dads. Like,
yeah, it's a bunch of dads whose pants shrink in the wash.
Exactly.
And so
these are a bunch of dads
short.
in like wearing like baby Gap pants. Like this is bad news. And like for some reason, Lil Wayne was a part of it. Did you catch that?
I did. He was the best part of it, both aesthetically and performance.
Exactly. I'm like, this is the oddest pairing in halftime music history. But I would have been happy with.
Yeah, that's maybe the oddest pairing since Elton John and Eminem. Although maybe that one made sense. I don't know.
That's true. Piper, let's stay in the music realm, and I want to run a couple of observations by you that I had during championship weekends. So here were the national anthem singers for the two games, and my question to you is this the best we could do? Game one, New Orleans, hometown of Harry Connick Jr. And see, for me, Pipe, I feel like Harry Connick Jr. should just sing every national anthem for every event in New Orleans, and it should be a standing thing.
There are 9,000
like
exceptional
world-class
jazz musicians,
exactly,
who just who play on street corners in the French Quarter. Like literally, just go grab a dude with a trumpet and be like, play the national anthem.
You could swing a cat in any direction and hit a world-class musician in that town. And you've got Harry Connick Jr. on speed dial. The city of New Orleans should just pay him like $1 million and just say, we've got you on retainer to potentially do the national anthem for every event. But here's who they got, Piper. They got Jimmy Buffett. And I could say a lot here, but I want to ask, did you see the performance? Did you see his national anthem?
I did not. I missed the national anthems because they're the national anthems. And if I had seen it was Jimmy Buffett, I would have used that time to conveniently go grab a beverage or take a leak or anything besides
listen to Jimmy Buffett. So Jimmy Buffett, his performance, it sounded like your sort of roomy-eyed, slightly inebriated uncle. Like somebody just handed him a mic and said, sing the national anthem. And he gets through it, right? So On one level, you're proud of your roomie,
so
drunken.
You just described retirement party karaoke,
dude. It's retirement party karaoke level singing. Where on one level you're like, I'm really proud of you for getting through that. Like, way to not butcher any of the lyrics. But on another level, you're like, is this the best we could do for a pre-championship game national anthem? And I got to tell you, man, it was really, really bad. And I'm not a Jimmy Buffett fan. Like, that genre of music, which I loosely call, like, I'm just relaxing with my beer music, I hate. And Jimmy Buffett is sort of he's sort of the like archetypal guy in that genre. So yeah, you didn't miss anything in
I
missing.
don't understand, like, the whole ethos of Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah.
Is lost on me.
It's lost on me as well.
Are we the wrong generation for it? I'm not the target demographic, certainly, but usually I can understand the connection between fans and music. Say, take Maroon 5. I don't like them. I understand why people like them. Yeah, that's even true of like Florida Georgia Line. I think that they might be the worst band playing today.
It's moronic, but you can see why morons like it.
I live in an area where there's a lot of jacked up pickup trucks and Confederate flags and things, and so I'm like, I get it. I get the appeal of those jokers. I don't understand Jimmy Buffett at all.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It just seems like noise to me, like background drinking noise, I guess. But people are like slavishly devoted to this guy.
Yeah, they call themselves like parrot heads. And
parrot heads, man. They go to where he's doing shows. I envision a bunch of just old people getting smashed. Which, yeah, I don't know, man. There's not a lot there for me to kind of grab onto. But the afternoon game was Melissa Etheridge. You may remember Melissa Etheridge from her one hit in the 90s. I feel like she had a song called Come to My Window. Do you remember this song by her?
I do, yeah.
I'll be home soon.
It was real sort of angsty, and she really belted it out with some feeling.
Angsty, folksy, 90s kind of girl music. And it was back when like folk music had an edge. I feel like folk music today is just like, a wafy vegan hipster on an area rug playing a really quiet acoustic set. But back in the 90s, it had a little bite to it. And she was a practitioner of this kind of angsty folk 90s music. But I feel like Come to My Window was it was kind of the only real hit. So again, I'm left to wonder why. Why does she get a national anthem? She didn't do bad, but it was slightly better than Jimmy Buffett, but nothing to write home about.
But like, she doesn't. She strikes me as one of those musicians who is more sort of influential, critically acclaimed than commercially successful.
Yeah, I'm sure like a 1,000 people will write in and talk about what a great career Melissa Etheridge has had.
Well, I mean, I've heard other musicians talk about her as somebody who was influenced, especially like younger female country artists, things like that. Yeah. But so I get that, but for a nationally televised game, don't you just want the most commercially successful? Yeah, just sort of diva.
Yeah, I feel like you're swinging for the fences in that moment.
I mean, like I realize. Like the Carrie Underwoods of the world or the Adeles of the world. I'm like, just throw all the money at them and just be like, you guys go sing it because you have the biggest voices. Everybody knows who you are. Nobody dislikes you.
Dude, it begs the question.
Nobody actually likes this song anyway. We just respect this song. So just go knock it out.
Who books the national anthem singer? Is it the team? Is it the venue? Is it like the network? I wonder if somebody's trying to save money. Somebody's saving a little money in these scenarios.
It has to be cost savings.
yeah, it would have to be, definitely.
Granted, Carrie Underwood wasn't available because apparently she just had a baby this past week. So it would have been a little tough for her both to fly and to sing in inclement weather conditions. But
dude, so let me lay a scenario on you. Let's walk this out a decade. You and I are even more wealthy and famous than we are now because this show has taken off. It's had a rocket ship trajectory, and we're very, very rich in a decade. And you and I buy the Titans. We redesign the uniform. We rename the team.
That needs to be a future episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rebranding and renaming the Titans, like just envisioning Titans, what it would be.
Absolutely, that needs to be a standalone app. We need to do that soon because that's been on my mind lately. But so we're rich and famous in a decade. We buy the Titans, and we can book any Christian singer to sing the national anthem for the AFC Championship game, which we will be in because we've impeccably reimagined the roster. Who are we booking?
Oh man, hopefully Christian music changes dramatically in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
But I mean, the only name that comes to mind that I feel any real peace in my soul about is Mac Powell, the Third Day guy.
Okay, interesting. Talk about that.
He just, first of all, he feels Nashville-y. He's very Southern rock. I think
he's very Nashville-y.
He's from Georgia, but yeah. He has sounded the exact same for 30 years.
I feel like he's got kind of a fake Eddie Vedder timbre to his
That's
voice,
exactly
which I like.
What he is. Yes,
yeah,
he is.
Yeah.
He was like, so you had Pearl Jam, and then you had Creed, which was like a faux Eddie Vedder sound, and then Third Day was like the Christian version of that with a Southern rock twist.
Yeah.
So I think I just compared him to Creed, which may undermine my choice of him, but
that's okay.
I think that's where I would go.
I like it. I'm going traditional, Piper. I'm going even more traditional. I'm going Keith and Kristen Getty. I feel like,
do we get the full Irish band though?
I want the Irish band.
There's something
both
ironic about an Irish band playing the national anthem for the United States of America. But
I'm okay with it though. I'm okay with it. Everybody loves the Irish. That's the thing. So I feel like we bring in Keith and Kristen Getty. They're a little bit older, a little bit more wizened and seasoned by then. One of my favorite celebrity upstaging moments involves the Gettys. I'm pretty sure I've told this story on the air, but this was right when like KDY's fame moment was starting to pop, and we were at a conference. We were speaking at a conference that the Gettys were doing the music at, and KDY wanted to have a green room moment with Keith and Kristen Getty, and he went up to them to to shake hands or make a connection, and they walked right by him. It was a great moment, but maybe we could
for you.
For me, yeah, exactly. Maybe we could replicate that moment at on the field at the AFC Championship.
And they're Nashville residents, so like they can come in and sing, and then like drive home and take care of their 14 kids or however many they have now.
Dude, that's right. It'd be an easy gig for them, just a stone's throw from where they live. So, Gettys, if you're listening, and I know you are, keep your calendar free 10 years from now for when Piper and I own the Titans and we book you. Pipe, anything else that you would like to talk about vis-a-vis the Patriots, the Super Bowl, whether or not you're excited about it, who you're excited about watching? I find that as I get older, I care less and less about the Super Bowl, and I really don't care about it one way or the other, but I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I have far fewer feelings about the Super Bowl than I used to. I mean, that's true about most sporting events, but
yeah,
I want to milk this Brady Belichick dynasty for all it is worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that it is apparently evil and inappropriate to have good feelings towards them of any kind.
Yeah, that's a thing I want to talk about. Like, I feel like Christians hate the Patriots, but I love the Patriots. I'm fascinated by Belichick and Brady and the whole thing, but I feel like people in our tribe especially are just like, oh, they're a bunch of cheaters. They're the worst.
I mean, I don't know. I think the only reason people hate them is because they're persistently good.
Yeah.
And they're like obnoxiously good. Even what they did to the Chiefs was just,
yeah,
it was a close game score wise, one overtime, etc. But like, it's just so Brady-esque the way that they won that, and the players who scored, and like Kyle Van Noy looks like some sort of space alien defensive end who just all of a sudden takes over the game. Like that's
Kyle Van Noy cast off of the Detroit Lions. So the Lions had a moment in which they were like, we no longer want Kyle Van Noy. He sucks. And then he becomes, he goes to the Pats and he turns into Lawrence Taylor in the playoffs. It's great.
He turns into Lawrence Taylor for like a game because he won't be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because that's the way the Patriots are. Like they're like Cordero Patterson's going to be the Super Bowl MVP or something like that. I mean,
he hasn't had a carry in 8 weeks.
Yeah, he's going to get it's going to be like 1 reception for 47 yards and a touchdown, 2 carries for 50 yards and 2 first downs and a punt return touchdown or something like that. I mean, it's just that's the Patriots. And then Brady is the always reliable hand, especially with the game on the line, and they are better now than they were 17 weeks ago. Always, dude, I know. Always better at the end of the year. And here's the thing. I don't understand why people hate them for being good. I can understand why you would hate them if you're a Chiefs fan, or a Jets fan, or a Dolphins fan, or a Bills fan, or whatever. But like watching history is fun. Yeah,
no, I agree. Watching people who are great at what they do is fun too. And as much respect as I have for Andy Reid, he's a great coach in the league. Like he was outcoached. And like to me, the most fascinating about this iteration of the Pats is that if you were to turn on a Pats game the year before this, you would see Brady in the gun, the Pats in 5 wides, and them just doing like nickel and dime surgery all the way down the field. You turn on the Pats this year, they're in 2 and 3 tight end sets. They've got James Devlin in, and they're playing like smash mouth bully ball.
And then, until they throw like a circle route to Devlin for 30 yards down the left sideline. I mean,
dude, right? Devlin's running like wheel routes. I mean, as a 250-pound fullback, he's like running wheels. To me, it's the most interesting, like capitalizing on a moment coaching thing imaginable, in that while the rest of the league has slimmed down and gotten more lateral, and they've built linebackers who can run, Belichick has said, all right, we're gonna come right at you. Like we're gonna hit you in your face and knock you backward. And Rex Burkhead is gonna be like the star of our ground game. And it's fascinating. Like to me, it's Belichick will take whatever you give him.
And what's crazy is if you remember last offseason, so 2 things happened. One, their starting left tackle signed with the Giants. So they lost their starting left tackle. Yeah. They drafted a guy and he was their first round pick, Isaiah Wynn, I think his name was, out of Georgia, who was supposed to be the new left tackle. Really, really good college offensive lineman. So they lose left tackle. They draft Wynn. Wynn blows out his knee and is gone for the year. I think might have been in the preseason. If not, it was real early in the year.
So early, yeah.
And they still are just a road grading team.
Exactly.
And it just doesn't make any sense, except that it absolutely makes sense.
It totally does. And Belichick being the master talent evaluator that he is, he doesn't chase, he doesn't throw money at a Nate Solder, who he knows is not a great left tackle. Nate Solder was a beneficiary of how quickly the ball was coming out of Brady's hands in the last 4 or 5 years.
Nate Solder is the same guy as Riley Reif, who's the Vikings left tackle, who got a ton of money because left tackles are hard to find.
That's right.
Period. Like if you can be approximately average and a left tackle, you're going to make just dump trucks full of cash.
That's right. Riley Reif, another Lions cast off. So the Lions are like the farm system to the rest of the league, in that like they bring guys in, they give them a few years to get acclimated to the pro game, and then they go elsewhere and excel. So tip of the cap for Detroit doing that for the rest of the league. But yeah, to me, watching the new sort of wonderkind coach versus the old standard is going to be kind of an interesting storyline. But
I mean, would you be at all surprised if the Patriots beat them like 34-17?
Nope. I mean, I will not be the least bit surprised.
Just stomp them.
I won't be surprised if it's not even close. You know what I mean? I could see the Pats kind of jumping out to a 14-point lead and just kind of hanging on to it, and the game's really not even close. Not close in the sense of the Rams are never really in it. I could see that. I mean, Brady has played in, this is what, like his 9th Super Bowl?
I don't know.
Jared Goff's barely played 9 games, and Brady's played in 9 Super Bowls already. I just think it's going to be overwhelming for Goff. No disrespect to him, but
and the Rams have basically, they kind of snuck into the Super Bowl.
Sure.
Like they were a very good regular season team, but they didn't finish the season exceptionally strongly.
Yep.
Their playoff games were not dominant, and they should have lost at least one of them. Wait a minute. Did they play the Bears? Were they
I don't think so. Who beat the Bears? The Eagles beat the Bears.
Eagles beat the Bears. That's right. I was trying to remember because with the Saints game, definitely there was the Saints should have beat them by 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
Which is part of the reason why being angry about the no call is a little bit unjustified. Yeah. Because if the team had played any sort of a decent game, they would have been running the clock out instead of trying to score to win.
Exactly.
But yeah, the Rams have tripped and fallen, and the Patriots have only gotten stronger. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, Gronkowski lives.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you know? Gronkowski still lives. And that last drive by the Pats was, to me, indicative of who Brady trusts. Because he had tried to spread the ball around to Cordero Patterson and Philip Dorsett and some of these other guys to no avail, and they were dropping balls and not coming through. And that last drive, it was always 3rd and 10, and it was always Gronk or Edelman on 3rd and 10.
Yeah, and then they've got what's the running back's name? James
White.
James White. He's kind of their third receiver at this point.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
dude. I'll give you a dark horse Rams thing that I noticed though in the NFC Championship. Ndamukong Suh decided to play finally, and he decided to care. And the Suh-Donald combination on the interior of that Rams defensive line was almost unblockable. Like, it was what they envisioned when they signed Ndamukong Suh. And, he's a guy who kind of runs hot and cold in terms of caring. But he cared in the NFC Championship game, and it really showed. Like, those guys were wrecking the game for New Orleans a lot of that game. So I think that it'll be interesting to see how Belichick, handles that. But again, you're not seeing.
If the Rams win, it's probably because Aaron Donald gets the MVP.
Yeah, which would be a cool thing to see.
That would be fun.
It'd be really cool to see a defensive tackle get the MVP for sure. But Piper, we got a couple minutes left. Let's talk some NBA. You and I have been watching a lot of NBA lately. I watched a lot on Martin Luther King Day in particular, and I was struck in an impressive way by how the NBA continues to handle social issues well. And they're kind of the gold standard in terms of how leagues handle this stuff. In that, before.
Wait, so you're saying the NFL is somewhat pathetic and ham-handed at all things
clumsy
social?
And ham-fisted in such scenarios? They are. So I had a friend over and we were both off for the day. So we just kind of settled in and watched a lot of NBA. And it occurred to me that the sort of soft focus bits that they did, before the game, they were unassailable, in that they involved NBA stars kind of interacting with kids about social issues. And, it was really pretty well done, I thought. Although I'm sure somebody could shoot holes in that. So I was impressed with that. And I wondered if you caught any of that coverage and what you thought about it.
I didn't this year. I have in the past. And yeah, the NBA seems to have a really good sense of, it doesn't feel agenda driven. It really feels sort of story driven, respectful of history, kind of eye opening. It feels very much more sort of in partnership with. So it's very positive. It's very upbeat. It doesn't, but not in sort of a happy clappy look how good everything is, because that's not how MLK Day works, because the man was assassinated. But they just do it really well. And it seems to be the case for most sorts of social issues. Yeah.
Dude, also, I was reminded of how cool looking Mike Conley Jr. is. Have you seen him lately?
Yeah.
That's a super cool looking black guy. I mean,
I've been watching him because I have just deep hopes and dreams that either he or Marc Gasol ends up on the Timberwolves.
I tell you, man,
heading into this trade deadline. I don't think it's going to happen, but
that needs to happen. Like, the Grizzlies need to do an absolute teardown.
I really want Andrew Wiggins to go the other direction. That's what I want.
Yeah, dude, Conley would be interesting on a couple of teams, but yeah, the T-Wolves would definitely be one. Would they be ready to absorb that huge contract?
Well, if they got rid of Wiggins, because Wiggins is on a max deal, so they would be a money swap. So it would give Memphis no financial relief, but at the same time, like, who's signing in Memphis anyway?
Dude, nobody. That's the thing.
Free agents go to like 4 cities. They either stay where they are or they go to LA, New York, Miami, maybe Houston.
Which is a good argument for trading for Conley. So if you're like, if you're Minnesota or you're the Pacers, you're not getting any elite free agents. So, you've got to trade for these guys. You got to make a deal for them. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see him move. I think, the Grizzlies are still operating under this misconception that they can be a playoff team, but who cares?
I think I just saw a report a couple days ago that after their kind of recent struggles, they've shifted to we're going to listen to offers for Conley and Gasol, which is like 2 years too late, but still,
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely for Gasol it is. Although he seemed like in that MLK Day game, I don't know if you watched it, it was Grizzlies, Grizzlies Pelicans, which I've got something to say about the Pelicans uniform on that game too. But Gasol seemed to be kind of showcasing himself. He started shooting threes again, and it seemed like he was trying to put on a little bit of a show, maybe to work his way out of Memphis. But but the Pelicans uniform pipe, it was like a somewhat rainbow themed deal, which it looked like a Denver Nuggets uniform from the 80s.
Yes, I saw those, and I thought it was a retro Nuggets, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that's Anthony Davis.
Wait a minute, that's the Pelicans, dude. So that should be an off limits thing. Like, you should not be able to co-opt the aesthetic of some other NBA team's retro look for your alternate uniform. I take umbrage with that.
I think that's true. I think alternate uniforms are the standard uniforms now. Like, every game is an alternate uniform. And so, I was watching one game, and it was like some team wearing, powder blue versus another team wearing gray.
Dude, it was the Sacramento powder blue, which is dope.
But it wasn't, because they're supposed to have that. It was like Portland or somebody. And I'm like, no, you guys are black and red. Yeah. You don't get to do powder blue. That's not okay. Like, there needs to be a rhyme and a reason. So, like, the city uniforms that they've done. So Minnesota has the Purple Prince theme, and Miami has the Miami Vice ones, and Brooklyn has theirs with like the Biggie sweater trim, which is maybe my favorite subtle uniform thing of the NBA.
That's a really cool thing. Yeah, really cool thing.
Those are all fantastic because they're like, what is unique about us?
Yep.
That goes in this. Otherwise, it's just like, what are colors we like? But that's not how uniforms work.
No, I agree. The whole color palette should not be in play when you're designing your alternate uni. Absolutely. It's the one thing the NBA is kind of bungling right now. But speaking of the NBA, Boogie Cousins is back in it, and he's back on the floor. I happened to watch his, I caught most of his first game back, and I was impressed, man. Like, I was impressed on the level of just how he changed the mood on the Warriors, because I think as a team, they had just gotten bored, and the ultimate, antidote to boredom is Boogie Cousins. And the antidote can go...
True. That's true for media. That's true for opponents. That's true for the team itself.
And it could go either way, man. It could go really bad. It could go off the rails, kind of in any moment. But it looked to me like a really good thing, like a really good catalyst, and he brings them a lot. Have you watched him as a Warrior?
I have. Not whole games, but quarters here and there. And the other thing I've noticed is, you see how Klay Thompson has done since he's come back, because all of a sudden they have, the biggest screener who's also a pretty good passer in the NBA. Yep. And so the shots that the other guys are getting are remarkable. Just so much easier for those guys. I meant to talk to you on a previous episode about the NBA, because I was going to ask you, it feels like other teams have a chance this year. The border seems like, they're kind of coming apart at the seams early in the season. They're screaming at each other. There's boredom. There's just sort of dissatisfaction. And then Boogie comes back, and all of a sudden that whole question seems pretty asinine. Yeah,
it's like, we're back to nobody having a chance, for sure.
Which, again, the same thing applies to them as it does to the Patriots, in that I love watching history made in sports. And this team, it feels a little soulless because it feels mercenary, whereas the Patriots have been sustained excellence. Yep. But even so, they're just unbelievably good.
They really are. They're good, and I think Steve Kerr has done a good job of keeping them engaged and interested in working together. Yeah. I think nobody would have guessed that all those egos could have coexisted for as long as they have. And, as a coach in the NBA, you have to be the ultimate like psychologist and glue guy to kind of keep everybody in the room together. And he's done a really good job of it.
Where do you think Kevin Durant ends up next year? And Boogie Cousins, since both of them are going to be free agents.
Yeah. I mean, they're both going to want their own teams. So
I think Boogie will want to sign somewhere where there's already a star or two. I mean, I could see him staying. I don't know if they can pull it off financially, but I could see him staying. Yeah,
I feel like he's smart enough to realize maybe that's the best situation for him.
Well, and he's never played in the playoffs.
Yeah,
because
that's right.
The Pelicans made it last year, but he was injured, and so I don't think he's ever played in the playoffs. And so I think if he gets playoff taste, I don't think he's going to want to go to go sign in, I don't know, Indiana or something.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, Durant, I think he's going to go to some big market where he can be the show, but where he doesn't have to share the spotlight with anybody else. I don't know who specifically that'll be, but I don't see him going to the Lakers. Like, he doesn't want to do a LeBron thing, I don't think.
It sounds crazy. It seems like a bunch of guys don't want to play with LeBron now.
Yeah, no, I know, man. I mean,
because nobody wants to take a back seat, and he is the show for as long as he's there, which I kind of get. Yeah, it seems like Durant to New York is the one that everybody's talking about.
Dude, Durant and Porzingis together is a really interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, and they have a couple interesting young guys, not stars, but at least contributors. I would love to see Durant in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that was the other one. I thought Brooklyn made a lot of sense for Durant. Great. They got a great arena, great location. No stars really. And
they don't have the history, but they have that has potential to be a premier NBA market with the right. I think all the marketing is in place.
Absolutely.
They need to win, and they need, one or two sort of seminal stars, and they've never had that. They tried it with the Paul Pierce KG thing, but they were old and not quite good enough. And they're close though.
They are. They're very close, and that could be really fun. Actually, it'd be fun to see if Durant could move the needle there. But. Yeah, Pipe. Our time is drawing to a close, but I want to know what you've been reading lately. Like, what good sports reads have you been into?
So I just finished a book a couple of days ago. It's sort of speaking of Kevin Durant, it's about Oklahoma City. So it's like a pseudo basketball story, but also a history of Oklahoma City.
Interesting.
Which sounds way less interesting than it actually was. So I heard an interview with the author, a guy named Sam Anderson, on maybe Zach Lowe's podcast. I can't remember. It's a really, really interesting interview. But he does this thing where he gives the history, like the founding of Oklahoma City, which has one of the most bonkers origin stories of any city I've ever heard of. It was basically, it was a government plan. They called it the land rush. So they taped off this several hundred square mile thing, and people just lined up on the outside. Yeah. And then at noon on a specific day, it was just like a madhouse race to stake claims.
Wow.
For land, and then that's how Oklahoma City came about. That's the very short version. So he alternates between modern history kind of built around the Thunder and the origin history tracing up to today. But it's got all sorts of crazy vignettes about like a celebrity meteorologist and the crazy tornado weather and the Oklahoma City bombing. And so the book is called Boomtown by Sam Anderson.
Nice.
And I listened to it on audiobook and he reads it, which he does a great job. So Boomtown. And it's a really cool book of just sort of a bunch of origin stories and a bunch of kind of this really weird, quirky city that kind of shouldn't exist, but keeps trying to be world class at the same time.
Yeah, for sure, man. Totally. Pipe, I want to talk about, this is related only because it has to do with books, but I want to talk about the new Lee Finger on our other podcast. Yes. I'm almost done with it, and I love it. and I bet you loved it too. So yeah, and I think Ron read it too. So that's something we should talk about on our on our
we
other
absolutely
show.
should. We should have a Virgil Wander love fest.
Dude, we should. We could almost do a whole ep on that.
I could easily do a whole ep on that.
Yeah, we could do a whole ep on the kind of the whole Leafinger library if we wanted to. But yeah, sportsbook wise, I'm reading a bunch of Bill James abstracts, man. I'm going deep dive into Bill James. So getting pumped for baseball, getting pumped for pitchers and catchers, getting pumped for the Mariners. The Mariners had a big teardown. They had a big trade fest in the offseason, and a bunch of young talent in the organization now. They really bolstered their their prospect list, which didn't look great last year, but does look great now. So I'm getting excited about that, and getting excited about just this Bill James analytics stuff, which I had heard a ton about and been conversant in, and I read Moneyball and all that stuff, but I'd never read a lot of James himself, and it's fun, man. He's got a fun little like authorial persona that's kind of perfect for what he was doing.
He's very sort of like snarky counterculture.
Yeah,
or like counter big business, and like big dumb.
Yeah, he's kind of like the dorky smart guy at your office that you like. You know, the guy at the meeting he's making the clever comments, but he's not the cool looking guy, so you don't hate him for it. That's Bill James in a nutshell.
Man, speaking of baseball, a rumor came out this year that the Twins are sort of like, they might be the sleeper team for the yet unsigned Bryce Harper or Manny Machado, which I think is complete garbage. It's not going to happen. But I have to say that because deep down, I so want it to happen.
I know where you're at. Man, you're tortured. You know, there's just a lot of torment with you. With
expectations suck.
Expectations are the worst, which is why, again, we've said it, ad nauseum on this program during the fall. Like, signing Kirk Cousins was the worst on a lot of levels, but the biggest level is that it created expectations. It created this sense of, oh my gosh, now we've got to do this. And that's hard, man. So
on the
my
plus
heart goes out
side,
to you.
No Vikings fan who doesn't have their head buried in the snowdrifts will not have expectations next year. We will all go in and go, if we win 9 games, it'll be a success.
Absolutely. Your team can fly under the radar next year. You can sneak up on people again. It could actually be a great scenario. But in saying that, I'm rebuilding expectations.
I know.
So I need to stop.
Stop it, Ted.
I'm going to stop. But Piper, we've done what we always do on this Happy Rant Sports program, and that we've wandered to and fro throughout these topics. I want to say to potential sponsors, purveyors of sports goods or teams or whatever, we are looking for sponsorships for this program specifically. So if you want to be a part of the rocket ship of fame that is the Happy Rant Sports podcast, hit us up, reach out to us. We will shill for your sports related product or your team, and we will do it happily. So Piper, we have wandered to and fro, and until next time, Manny Machado.
The Happy Rant is brought to you by Resonate Recordings. If you go to resonaterecordings.com, you can see the full range of services they offer. So if you're considering starting a podcast, they are the ones we recommend going with. Again, go to resonaterecordings.com to see their prices, to connect with them and ask any questions, and to see what they can do to help you launch, edit, master, and improve your podcast. Again, go to resonaterecordings.com to see what they can do to help you launch and improve your podcast.